Bonjour. Hello, everybody. Okay, well, welcome to everybody, first of all. So my name is Alex, I'm from BeMyApp, okay, so we organize this meetup with Intel. Well, first of all, thanks in being here with this weather, which is, well, kind of rainy, okay, so it's good you make it. I'm sure you're gonna enjoy this meetup. So the future of gaming meetup, okay, so can be a bit wide. What is exactly a future of gaming? I'm going to tell you. Is basically we're going to talk about future and gaming. Easy, yeah? So it's about innovation in gaming, and we wanted to have a special focus on VR and AR. Okay, so we will have 3 presenters tonight. Unfortunately, and really, I wanted to share apologize from him to you guys, but the Intel speakers couldn't make it. So still, we have an Intel representative here tonight. He will present himself afterwards. So yeah, it's an Intel meetup, okay, made by Intel, but there is no Intel presentation. Sounds weird, but still, there is many other topics good to hear, like Shanee from Google. So I'm gonna straight go to the agenda. Okay, so we'll have 2 presentations. So the 2 presentations will be a bit longer. Okay, to cover the extra time. Each presentation is gonna be 30-40 minutes, and after we'll have Q&A session. Okay, so I don't know. How many of you have been to BeMyApp event before? Okay, good. So it's, let's say, 40-60%. Okay, so it's good. It's good to see new faces, and faces I already know, of course. So basically, we'll have these 2 presentations with Shanee from Google and Marco from Visualise, and then we will share a few beers and pizza upstairs. Okay, so there will be also some demo. I know Marco bring some stuff here. Okay, so especially for you to demo, and after, of course, the idea is share all together and yeah, just make some fun. Just before I give the mic to Phillip, the Intel representative, I wanted to advertise 2 upcoming events that might interest you, of course, because I guess most of you are into the game ecosystem. Okay, who is developer here? Okay, good. So basically, the next event here in London is the Intel Buzz Workshop London. Okay, the Intel Buzz Workshop London is a whole day of conferences about gaming. Okay, each presentation is 30 minutes. Okay, and it's on December 8th. Okay, the website is here. The London page is not online yet. Okay, we are still building up the event, but save the date for December 8th. Okay, so it's we have like 8-10 talk about game development, and then we have some live demos and stuff like this. So yes, this is a bit like the next step of this event, and also some news from Paris. Okay, it's also rainy there. I just wanted to let you know. It's the DroidCon. Okay, who is Android developer? Okay, good. Well, guys, the DroidCon is on November 9th and 10th. Okay, it's in Paris, and don't really have to explain about it, but it's 2 days of conference about Android and all the ecosystem. Yes, with the Eurostar, Paris is not that far, so well, take your chance to go there. Anything you need, of course, during the presentation, we will let the speakers present, but after we will have some Q&A session, so feel free to just raise your hand and create a discussion, okay? We also like this kind of stuff, of course, interactive. Okay, so feel free to raise your hand and ask or say some notice, and everybody will hear it with pleasure. So I'm going to call Phillip. Please, a round of applause for Phillip. Come on, allez.
Hi everyone, I'm Phillip, I'm from Intel. I'm an application engineer working under the software and services group, which means I touch on things like RealSense and software enabling in general. Yeah, again, welcome, thanks for coming tonight. We've got some interesting presentations coming up. And whilst I'm here, I'd like to direct you all to the Intel Developer Zone. Close, okay. The Intel Developer Zone. Here you can download the latest SDKs and just general great resources. So you can get the latest events and news from Intel. Also you can get great contact information for relevant people. Yeah, you can join today if you haven't already done so. It's a one-stop shop to all things developer. Again, apologies from Xavier, who couldn't be here today to give you the RealSense presentation. He just wasn't able to come. That's it from me. I'd like to pass you over to Shanee for her presentation. Do you want to give her a round of applause?
Okay, thank you very much, Philip. Just come, Adelaide, if you can help Shanee to set up. So yeah, also a few information about the meetup. Okay, who is on meetup.com? Okay, so just to let you know, there is an Intel meetup. Okay, it's called Intel Developers Meetup. Okay, and we always post about Intel events and challenges, hackathons, all that kind of stuff. So feel free to join. And of course, who use Twitter? Okay, good. So if you want to hit some tweet about the event, you like it, you don't like it, say it on Twitter. Okay, it's on #RealSense and #FutureOfGaming. All right. So. I don't know what else. Yeah, just also in case you know some people that couldn't make it tonight, we are live streaming the event, so maybe it's time to say a big hello to the camera. Please help me, guys. Come on, hello. Okay. It's a bit awkward, right? No, right. It's on live stream and it's being recorded. Okay, so in case you need anything you want to watch again, then just feel free to go to the YouTube link that will be sent to you tomorrow by email. Okay, so I don't know if all of you had this little stuff. I don't know exactly what is that for. I have to tell you, but yeah, wrap the screen. Yeah. Any other ideas? Yeah. Who's somebody catch it? No? Yeah. Okay. So you have koala. There is penguins. There is what else? Deer. Okay, thanks. So okay. Everything okay? Yeah, I guess there is some. It's my time now. It's my show time. I don't know. Do you know the venue? No. Who has? I've been here before. Yes. Okay. Okay. What for? Game. Okay. Hackathons. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Actually, we organized a Beacon hackathon last year. Some of you were there, or yeah. Yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah. As I told you, BeMyApp organized a hackathon in Europe. So yeah, Beacon hackathon is this kind of hackathon we organize. So what else can I tell you? Some of you already use the Intel RealSense camera. Yes. I can see somebody always raising his hand. So you are an expert, right? So you're an event expert. So basically, the Intel RealSense camera is like it's a camera that you just plug to your computer, okay? And there is an SDK you can develop app. Intel usually make like what they call the Intel App Challenge, okay? So Intel RealSense App Challenge, and it's like a worldwide competitions, and we supported some of their action on that. The real innovation on this camera is that now the camera is embedded into computers. Okay, so not all of them, of course, but some Intel computers, they are equipped with a camera, and basically you can, you can use it for games. Okay, so you can use it to develop games, but you can also use it for like other usage. Like I know one of the winner of the app challenge was making a battery. You know, you can so you have your both hand free and you can play battery on it. There is also like a 3D model of medicine use. Okay, so basically you just take a picture of your feet. Okay, it map your feet, and then you can see if the feet is like an ankle. Yes, there is an ankle on the feet. Well, so if the feet hurts or not, so it's medicine use. So yeah, are we good? Okay, please applaud me because I feel like I spoke to 15 minutes. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah. Hey. I'm not very good with this microphone, so let me know if I'm not being heard very well. How is everyone doing? So, quick question. What does Google have to do with games? No hands? Anyone? Who said Android? Catch. Nah. Only works fine, sorry. Anything else? Who said cardboard? Yeah. Who said tango? No. Anyway, I've given this presentation a few times now, twice at IO actually. We keep seeing these kind of titles lately. Virtual reality is coming, but what is it? We see images like that. Anyone has one? Anyone backed it on Kickstarter? You're awesome. We see pictures like that. That's actually from our Stockholm office. These are ways to bring ourselves to another world, basically. But what is it, really? What is virtual reality? Who's Star Trek? That's like 2 hands here. Who saw Star Trek? Okay, the holodeck. That's a way for us to go somewhere else, do something else, which we might not be able to do, be someone else. How many of you play games? Good. You're being more cooperative now. If you don't mind. How many of you play games? So this is what I want to do. It's not working.
Yeah, here it works now.
Okay. So this is what I want to do in virtual reality. So what is virtual reality, and what does it let us do? Imagine you're building your new house, and you're making a model, making it in 3D. Virtual reality allows us to really feel how it is like to be inside. Virtual reality allows us to paint in real 3 dimensions and take the image into the living, really. Now, we work at Google on Google Cardboard. Some of you may have heard of it, especially that guy over there. But how does it work, and why cardboard? So how does virtual reality work, essentially? There are 3 core principles. The first one is visual immersion. We want to feel like we are somewhere else. We want to be transported, just like with the holodeck from Star Trek. We need to have good tracking, so if we are moving or if we are looking around, we want to update our camera 1 for 1. And we want to have input, some way to interact with the virtual world. Once you have these 3, and have it really, really fast, then you have virtual reality. But there is one more thing that you need to have. You need to have it accessible. If it isn't accessible, then not many people are going to have it. If you remember from the 90s, or before that even, there was virtuality, for example, and it was big clunky devices in shopping mall or arcades. And it didn't go too far. It was expensive or too big to have. So this is why the team at Google worked on Google Cardboard, going to the very basic components that anyone can make from it a virtual reality device. And I mean, very basic components, and anyone. This is made out of a cereal box. These are some of the many cardboard devices that you can buy today. You can get them on our website. You can maybe get someone throw one at you at an event like this. So how does it actually work? Let's take a look at visual immersion. How many of you have worked on virtual reality before, Oculus, or? Okay, quite a few of you. So we'll do it really quick. For visual immersion, we need to have focus. That means we need to see the entire screen of a small device, like a phone or a tablet, through a headset. This is all we want to see. We need to have depth perception, just like in real life. We have two eyes. This is so we can sense distance between you, me and you, and anyone else. And we need to have really fast speed, low latency. The reason for that is because our eyes don't really jitter the frames per second. If they do, you probably want to see a doctor, and quickly. So with a very basic optical setup, we can achieve most of that. We're using the phone as our screen and the cardboard as our viewer. We look through our eyes, and the lenses focuses our wide field of view into the small screen, which is rendering the pixels. As with any 3D rendering, we have our camera and we have our scene. But for VR, we're just multiplying that camera, moving it to simulate eye distance, and rendering it twice for half the screen each. So that's the basic. You probably know all of that. This is what a picture from a game looks like. But then we have a problem. This is distorted. Anyone can tell me what's wrong with that image? Nope. Let's ignore the depth problem. Sorry? No. Sorry? I can't hear it? Fisheye. Yes, kind of. It's actually the opposite effect, isn't it? It's like, yeah. So this is called pincushion distortion, and this is an update that I've got to do. You're correct. The other one is binocular. This is fisheye. Sorry. Pincushion distortion. Why does it happen? Anyone knows? So when we're looking through the lenses, we're focusing our sight into the center of the lens, which is causing this kind of distortion and stretching like that. Because we are focusing onto the center, so everything at the sides stretch outward. We can fix that with the opposite effect called barrel distortion, which we apply at post-process. Now, I'm going through it a bit quickly because A, I'm supposed to have half an hour, and B, I'm guessing most of you know that already. But after post-processing, this is how it looks, and that's the binocular effect that you get when you're looking at virtual reality images outside of a device. The second bit is tracking. We want to be able to move or look around and feel it or update it in real time to our device. So lucky for us, we have all that we need on our phone. We have a gyroscope and accelerometer. From that, we can get a pretty accurate 3D image of our orientation. Using that, we can update our OpenGL camera or Unity camera with the phone orientation tracking and get an accurate frame representing to where you're looking inside the game, application, or 3D video. And the last one is input. Now, with the cardboard, forgot one slide. We can't actually give a controller to anyone because then cardboard won't be accessible. It's supposed to be $5 to $10 device. So with the cardboard, we have added a very simple solution. In the V2, which is the one that I've got in here, we have a small capacitive paper on the top. When we press it, we push another bit inside that touches the screen. So using basic touch input, we know that we have basically used a button and we can trigger an action. With the older version of cardboard, we have the magnet. Using the magnetometer, we can sense when someone is pushing the magnet. We are creating a small distortion in the magnetic field around it. Detecting that means, once again, we have as if pressed a button, and we can translate that into game input. So this is basically just one button controller. But what can you do with one button? Some might say not so much, but actually, because everything is contextual, when you look around, most of the things you don't even need a button. Like if you're playing a treasure hunt game and you have a map, you don't need to bring the map up by pressing a button. You can just look at it and it will come to the focus, and then look away, it will go away. You can, for example, if you don't have any item to interact with, press on the ground and walk somewhere. And if you do have an item like that treasure chest, then you can loot it. And that's a very simple way to do quite a bit of interactions with just one button. Everything just needs to be with context. This is a game some friends of mine made in just about 10 hours using Unity and our Cardboard SDK. So let's see if we get sound. Can we maybe lower the lights and activate the sound? So basically, this is a multiplayer game. This is one of the first multiplayer games I've seen for virtual reality and cardboard especially. What happens is you're kind of a repair drone. You're flying around to repair the ship. Every now and then there will be a meteor striking down. That's the smoke you see there falling down in the background. And the purple vapor actually tells you where does the ship need to be repaired. What you can't hear right now are two things. One of them, this is another player, by the way, just looking to you from VR. You have only two buttons. One of them is start moving, and then if you're already moving, then it's stop moving. When you get close enough to a damaged section, you just automatically start repairing it, and that's all. You get this kind of beep like radar. So when you're getting close to a damaged sector, it will beep louder and more frequently, telling you that you're close if you can't see it. The other thing is that the difficulty becomes harder the more players that are inside. And you can't hear it, but they're actually coordinating and shouting, I'll go to the back, or you should go to the front. It's really weird to look at it from the outside, but a lot of fun to actually be inside of it. And actually, seeing people in multiplayer, in VR, is so much different than every other multiplayer type. So this was, yes. It is not released. They're working on it. They work at Criterion Games, and they have got to sort all the legal stuff. It was made in one day at a game jam inside their office by 3 people. So that's it. They won the game. The most embarrassing part is that they missed the high five at the end. These 3 are my colleagues who work with me at Google. And these 3 are the developers from Criterion Games, EA Games. Now, anyone can just make their own. We have an Android SDK and a Unity plugin you can just download and drop a camera in, and it all works just fine. now Unity also have a new native support for VR applications, so it's probably even easier than that nowadays. But there's just a little bit more. At Google I/O, we have announced a few new things. One of them is the jump camera. With the jump camera, you can easily take 360 video spheres, so they capture everything that happens around you. And some of you might know, okay, capturing the video is relatively simple, but processing it and making it into a usable format is not so much. So for that, we also have our assembler. So anyone with a jump camera can have access to it. And it will do all the stitching for you. It starts with a basic stitching, and then we're using color correction to remove the seams. We get a lot of information from the light, special information about the depth, which allows us to do cool stuff, such as interpolating between all these points and making a real, authentic feeling perspective. And the other thing is that you can now watch VR movies on YouTube with YouTube 360. You can get to it through YouTube, and you can get to it through the Cardboard application. And there's quite a nice selection already. So I'm looking forward to seeing more. And now the last bit. How many of you have heard of Project Tango? I see you're all interacting now. That's very good. I have a sword just in case. So let's start with this video. And can we get the audio now? It is not. Nope, it's a maximum.
Universities, research labs, and industrial partners to build upon the last decade of computer vision and robotics, concentrating that technology into a very unique mobile device.
When you're outdoors, you can use your cell phone and you can use GPS and find where you are and where you want to go. When you enter, the moment that you enter a building, GPS is not available anymore. So we need to create other ways for being able to find where we are.
Project Tango is producing a solution to the visual navigation problem for how devices can stay localized in 3D space.
I did the research initially that developed the 3D vision algorithms that the rovers use to drive safely on Mars, and I worked on that as a grad student in the 80s, and then I came to JPL, and then it turned out that Tango is similar in that you've got this device in your hand, you need to know where it is. One of the best ways to do that is to use the camera in the device to track features in the room.
What we encounter in that research are the same problems we're struggling with now in our autonomous driving project and in the Project Tango, which is how to re-recognize places that you've been before, even though the environment has changed.
We have runs throughout the DC area where Project Tango is recording all of the visual and also inertial odometry information from the vehicle, and then we use that to experiment on localization algorithms.
So our team at ETH is working on search and rescue using small UAVs.
When first responders arrive at the scene, they often want to get a map of the environment because buildings are destroyed and previous maps are not valid anymore.
So my team is contributing a number of different algorithms to Project Tango. In particular, we're looking at making it possible for Tango devices to also work outdoors in terms of capturing depth information.
So one big goal we have at ETH Zurich is building a map of the city and the lake area. I'm very enthusiastic about bicycling, so the natural thing to me was to mount the helmet with the phone and to just go through Zurich.
We actually feed that into our maps and build these big maps together that all the robots can use.
Once navigation and perception is solved for a single robot, you can combine it for aerial vehicles and ground vehicles, and can all co-localize in a common map.
And so it's a very exciting thing to try to be part of, because you'll be able to have a very large impact for computer vision and robotics and 3D modeling.
We were working very closely with Johnny Lee. I was fascinated by the way he brought in all specialists from robotics, like navigation and perception and calibration. He got the experts from all fields and brought them together to build one device.
we've been able to work in collaboration with universities and other industrial research labs to push the limits of physics and push the limits of our human knowledge to achieve much more than we could alone. And I want to work with the developers who are excited about doing more than the touchscreen app and help us explore this journey. And as we evolve the hardware, we are excited to see what the developers will produce.
So this is the Project Tango device. It is now on sale in the UK and select countries in Europe as well. So developers here can finally get it. But what is it, essentially? So just like with every other mobile device, we have our camera and the gyroscope and accelerometers. But here we have added the additional of a fisheye camera, or a wide lens, actually, which allows us to get more information about our surrounding. And we're using that for visualizing how we are moving in 3D space and orienting ourselves. In addition, we have an infrared projector and infrared camera for capturing a point cloud that allows us to learn about depth and objects around us. We can use both of them together, the camera and the point cloud, to map the environment around us and learn a lot more than we can with a normal device. And I'll give demos upstairs. I think it's upstairs after this, so just come and see it. But what does it let us do? So we have motion tracking. This is done with the fisheye camera and the accelerometers. We have depth perception, and we have area learning. We can save the environment that we have been at, and then we can use it again. Wrong image. Environment mapping. And this is how a model of an environment might look like. So we can use it, for example, if IKEA were to implement an application and you were to redecorate your house, you could look into your house and place furniture and look how it will be inside, how it will scale up. If you have captured your environment and you have all this depth data and positional data, you can accurately project things into the scene. You know, if you're just using a regular camera and you're trying to project, you don't actually know if the object should be occluded or not. And in this case, you do know, because you know exactly where you're projecting to, and you know exactly what's there. You can make really awesome games with it. We've just taken a normal Nerf gun and 3D printed a mount on top. And we can run around the room with it, use the motion tracking capabilities of the device to actually translate the camera in real time. And using just a very simple Bluetooth chipset, we can send a key input from the Nerf gun to the device to trigger firing, so we don't actually need to touch the screen. We can use it for virtual reality. It allows us to move in 3D space. There have been some really nice experiments for it, even in multiplayer. And if you actually know where the other players are, you might not run into them. May or may not have happened more than once. So that's it for Cardboard and Tango. And I'm sorry if I rushed it through a bit. Are we okay with time? The last exciting bit for gaming and virtual reality together is Vulkan. How many of you are using OpenGL instead of Unity? Or so they're like, I don't know, 10 hands, 10 people, everyone else is using an engine. So even engines like Unity will be relying on Vulkan soon. Vulkan is a new low overhead API. As some of you might know, that when working with OpenGL, most of the problems we're getting is actually driver overhead. We're trying to make changes, or such as a state change or draw calls, but this is all just a black box. And the driver are pretty much trying to guess what are you trying to do. They don't really know what you're doing. They need to set up the GPU objects and submit the commands properly after you've just basically hinted them what you want to do. But with Vulkan, it's a lot more explicit. What you're saying that you're doing is what you're actually going to do. And therefore, the drivers don't need to do a lot of guesswork to try to figure out what is happening. And you're saving a lot more CPU cycles because of it. So when we're rendering for VR in OpenGL, we have 3 ways to do it. The first one is to use just brute force. But then we try to optimize on top of it. So we can use geometry instancing to render to different parts of our target buffer. Or we can use a geometry shader to do just the same, but in one draw call. Without geometry instancing, because if we're using geometry instancing, then you might not be able to use your other geometry instancing, or it just becomes a lot more complicated. My brain is somewhere else. And the last one is using an extension, such as the OVR multiview, which allows you to just render to 2 separate textures and get the correct metrics for each one on the vertex shader. Now, with Vulkan, you don't have to use all of these tricks. All you need to do is resubmit the command buffer because you have already compiled them. It already has the draw calls inside. All you have to do is change to a new viewport at the end and then submit again. Or you can even just use a dynamic state change within the same command buffer to change to a viewport and then submit a draw call again. But it's within the same command buffer, so you're basically only submitting one command to the GPU. So there's minimum driver overhead on that, which will allow us to do a lot more. So I believe Vulkan is finally announced some. Actually, I'll stop here because I'm not entirely sure. So that's about it. If you have any questions and if you want to see some Tango demos, come see me upstairs afterwards. Thank you. Any questions right now? We have time for questions?
Okay, it's not working. So thank you very much, Shanee. We still have 10 minutes for question indeed. So, yes.
As HoloLens is coming out and doing something which is
And,
augmented reality headset, is that going to be the next stage for Tango?
So the question was, as HoloLens is coming out and doing some kind of augmented reality, is it going to be the next stage for Tango? Tango has augmented reality abilities. You can use the camera and you can project stuff into the real world. I can show you a demo upstairs. It's not transparent, but it does have the augmented reality abilities.
It's important to use the mic because it's live stream, so then everybody can hear the question.
Okay, the Jump 360 camera. How does it work in motion?
In motion, I honestly don't know. I honestly haven't tried, and I'm not familiar with anyone that has.
Okay, so has it always been sort of static and the scene around it unfolds?
I haven't worked on it, but I know some want to experiment with motion, but I haven't seen any practical examples, so I don't have a good answer for you. I'm sorry.
Thanks.
I saw one on YouTube. There is a motion that jump is moving, so just straight, so you can see it.
Yeah, so as everything in VR, if you're moving and it's not in a straight line, then you might not feel so well because you're getting this correlation between how the user is feeling and where they're moving. But that's a different story. Any more questions? That's it?
Just going back to Jump 360, the processing, I'm assuming that would be, if you've shot video, you'd then upload it to Google and you would do the processing and feedback to us what's been processed.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a toolkit that you could run locally.
No, you can't. But if you have a case for it, come talk to me.
And my second question on Jump 360, when you showed the stereo image, again, that's part of the processing because you've got the multiple images, you're then reconstructing the stereo
Yes.
from the images. Yeah.
Yes.
Great, thanks.
I can speak. No. There is a question here.
I was just wondering how much the Jump 360 camera costs and where you would buy it.
So I can't remember the exact price, but we have worked with GoPro, and they have announced it on the website, I believe. So you can just go to the GoPro website and get the details and ordering their kit. And from the crowd, it's $15,000.
So there's something I'm curious about. You mentioned that players would hit each other with the Tango camera integrated into VR.
I said it may or may not have happened, yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm curious about. What happened there? Can you discuss a little bit on what's the limitations of the Tango project for people to be hitting each other? That shouldn't happen if the depth camera is running 100% correctly, if I understood your presentation.
Some of the VR experiments that I've done may not have actually mapped the room or calibrated players' positions, which may have led to the ability to walk around without knowing where everyone else is in the world, because they may or may not have spawned in the same spawn point, which, you know.
So it was uncalibrated?
No.
Calibrated?
Yeah, you can see where everyone is, and you can you update the delta position over the network, and it works really well.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Hi, another question about the jump cameras. So if you've got these 16 cameras all next to each other, they can each one on the edges are both seeing the same object, and that's how you can slightly see past objects. Does this mean it only works when you keep your head vertical, horizontal? I mean, if you turn it to one side,
There is a little bit of a blind spot at the bottom.
Okay.
You can see it in the videos.
I meant more with the stereoscopics. If you tilted your head, would
Oh,
it stop working?
It mostly works all right, actually, because you aren't actually moving. You don't have positional tracking, so most of the data is good for just orientation tracking.
Okay, I'd have thought that you're seeing from one eye to the left, one eye to the right. That's the way it's being filmed, and then if your head's on its side,
yeah,
you've got one eye higher than the other.
Yeah.
So
no, there is a lot more data than that, so it's good enough. Give it a try.
We have another question here.
Would Google Glass work in this area at any time?
I don't have anything to tell you, I'm sorry.
I'm interested in what you said about multiplayer, because I guess a lot of the companies developing devices right now kind of talk about it as a solitary experience, and there aren't that many kind of multiplayer games out there. Is Google kind of standing apart and saying actually VR should be a multiplayer experience?
I would love to see multiplayer VR experiences. We have not made any corporate decision on that.
Sure, and I guess compared to Facebook, who probably bought Oculus for the purposes of telecommunication and actually seeing face-to-face, and that side of using VR for communication, is that something Google's interested in as well?
I'm pretty sure that VR will be a very big thing for social and interaction over the internet. Just the way you interact with a person in front of you is so much different than just a voice chat or anything else. So I'd imagine it would be a fantastic concept for application or game.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, thanks. For the Jump VR output, can Google download it as a file? Can we download it as a file, or is it just sort of streamed on YouTube?
Yeah, you can use it as a file. You can use it wherever you want in your own applications as well. You can download it as a file.
Yeah, I was just curious about WebGL.
Sorry?
WebGL, so you can put it on a browser.
You can use WebGL. I think it's just encoded. I can't remember which format, but I can get back to you on that.
Okay.
It's just a video format.
Okay, there is one more question.
Just wondering, is it possible to get other people who aren't actually using the cardboard onto the actual game? So if some random person walks in, can you just have a rock show up so that they don't actually run into that person? Because multiplayer is very well, but you can't always control who's playing your game.
It really depends what kind of sensors you have in the room and what device have you got. If you just have a normal phone with people using it in cardboard, then you have no way to track their position. So it really depends what kind of setup you've got.
I was just going to ask, with Project Tango, do the processing requirements decrease after you've done a first pass of the room, or is it continually scanning?
You can keep scanning. You can save area description file, is how we call it, which is basically just the model of the room and the scale. And then all you need to do is process against that file and your motion tracking, which is only the wide lens camera. So you don't need to use the depth camera, and the power consumption is much lower, as well as the processing needed.
So you make a first pass and then check against your
Well,
first
that
pass.
is up to the developer if you're actually creating an ADF file and if you're actually using it. If you're not doing so and you keep scanning all the time, then it's bad programming.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We have one more question, and it's gonna be the last.
Okay.
After we can.
Hiya, I was just wondering if Google's doing any work with 3D audio as well as graphics?
We're doing a lot of work on VR, but I can't go on specifics, sorry.
Okay, thanks.
That's all? Hey, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Shanee. Merci beaucoup. So as she was telling, she's gonna display some demo upstairs with a pizza. Yeah, basically now we are going to plug Marco for the next presentation. Okay, I guess it's my time again. So we have I don't know, a couple of issues with internet. By the way, if you want to use internet, just logging to the .ideal network, okay? And I think there is like condition to accept regarding the venue, and so. But you have access to free internet, of course. So okay, I don't know. Maybe somebody know a good developer's joke. I know one, but I guess maybe it's the one. Yeah, I go ahead. Okay, thanks. So why developers wear glasses? If you know, don't tell the... Who knows this joke? Wow, I'm lucky. Okay, because they can't see sharp. That's fine, okay. Thank you very much. Applause for Marco, please.
Thank you, that was a good one, actually.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go for that one. Okay. Just not showing it. Like, yeah. Can you hear me? Yes. Good.
It's your time now. Your show.
All right, so I'm the showman now, apparently. I don't know any developer jokes, I'm sorry. Not as good as that, at least.
Maybe VR joke?
No, I'm not prepared for that. Connection is not really.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, then maybe some of you have a joke. I'm gonna give you the mic. I'm sure some of you know developer's joke. Come on. Yes? No? Not sure? Okay. Well, then if you are too shy to tell it with a mic, please tweet it. My Twitter is Fudufafa, okay? So French. And it's good inspiration for me, okay? So then when it's my time to show it, I can tell you jokes. Ah, okay. Huh?
Keep it in your hand.
Are you okay? Okay, you know, this is the future. Come on. Okay, I'm a bit cynic about this. Sorry, obviously apologize for these technical issues. I really hope you like Shanee's presentation. I'm sure you're gonna like Marco's presentation. As I told you, feel free to engage, okay, with these Twitter's hashtag, so it's real sense, the Intel camera, and hashtag future of gaming, okay. So feel free to interact with BeMyApp UK. We shouted some tweets, some pictures, and obviously tomorrow we'll email you all the videos, all the slides of this presentation, and all the pictures.
All right.
We are good, Marco? Good. All right. Hopefully.
Okay. All right. I think we're ready now. Hello everybody. First of all, thank you for being here. I'm really happy to be able to talk about VR. I'm really, really passionate about the subject, and gonna go straight forward to the introduction. Just a little about me and my background. I am a computer engineer. I like to call myself a computer engineer, not a developer, because developer, I think it's a little generic. As Mr. Wolf here, we are engineers. We solve problems. So. Specifically for computers. So it's not just about developing, it's about overcoming challenges. So you have sometimes networks problems, you have problems about multiplayer, about input stuff, and it's not just code, but it's about thinking out of the box and solving problems. And my background is in game development, so I've been making games for a long time. I started when I was 14, and obviously I wasn't paid for it. And then I managed to be able to make it as a job. And I also have a training in the Scrum. I'm a Scrum Master. I've been lucky enough to be trained by Jeff Sutherland himself, who's the creator of Scrum in Amsterdam, where I started my career basically in the game industry. And that's it. This is about me. I work at Visualise. It's a company based in London, near Brick Lane. We're actually pretty close. And actually, I can use this one. It's more cool. Yes. So Visualise is a company that creates VR content. We have a background in photography and filmmaking, but we basically started using VR in a kind of innovating way. We play 360 videos mostly, but we introduce interactions with it, and we love to play with technology. So it's not just about watching a video, it's more of an experience, and we add everything we can to make the thing more immersive. So we work with actually lots of prestigious clients in the past, and still collaborations with them is happening. And we make things using, again, lots of tech, not just VR. So we used the Motion Leap. We had this project, for example, just a quick overview, of a project for architects that basically allowed us to use our hand as a GUI, and you just type, like, with your finger, like in which room you want to end up, and everything just works pretty good. Motion Leap is a little young as a technology, so it's a little unstable, but still it's good. It's good to keep on, tackling every kind of tech is out there to make the thing more immersive. And then we were working for a project for Audi, and we used this mechanical chair to give more, immersion in the experience. So we were basically driving next to a professional driver, and we were like going around this, this track, and it was going pretty fast. And sometimes it was just like steering. And whoa, you were just really involved in the experience. And this is what we want to do. But let's move to the big subject here, VR. So where are we where we talk about VR? What is the state of VR at the moment? Well, actually, it's a very, very exciting time. It's great, I think. It's the best moment to tackle VR, in my opinion. Like, everybody's jumping in. Everybody wants a slice of this cake because it's a big one. And you can see that, not just because, everybody's talking about it, but I'm pretty sure that you all notice on the market all those movements that are happening. I won't say Facebook, $2 billion to get Oculus. That's so obvious that it doesn't make sense to talk about. But let's talk about more about the platforms that are coming out right now. So, for example, think about it. It's not just about the headset. It's not just like Cardboard, Gear VR, DK2, Vive, Project Morpheus, now PlayStation VR. But it's more like all the things that are around it, like companies that are acquired for millions of dollars that are specifically making, sensors or stuff like that. There is something going on there. Like, a lot of people is interested in this stuff. And they also create platforms around it, software platforms. So if you think about it, I really think we are in a moment like when iPhone came out. It was an iPhone that made the revolution in our lives. It was the Apple Store. The App Store was what revolutionized everything. They opened the world to developers, and they said, go make stuff for us. And now, everybody is using applications that come from the App Store, like WhatsApp, Twitter, or all those things. Like, they run in your hands every day. Everybody is not making just an headset, like, obviously, Oculus with Rift and Gear VR, but they're making Oculus Share, or the Oculus Store. And Valve, it has Steam VR already there for a long time. And of course, they have the hardware HTC, which is coming out next month, if I'm not wrong. Sony obviously has the best platforms for video game out there, together with Microsoft, of course. But yeah, they're making an headset as well. And Google, that's a good point. Like, YouTube 360, this is an index that VR is really coming. So when you started with that presentation, like, VR is coming, like, yeah, it's true. Like, these things are what are telling us VR is there. And it's going to boom. Like, by the end of this year and the next one, when the Oculus will release the Rift, we're going to see a lot of interesting stuff happening. And last but not least, VR content demand right now is just crazy. Like, we are very busy at my place of work. Like, everybody wants to play with VR. Everybody wants content. And they are really pushing to put their stuff on their stores or on their platforms, because this is the big thing. Like, whoever makes the biggest, the most successful platform for VR wins, basically. And another thing, which is actually pretty important, we are living in the mobile golden era. Like, this is the best moment for mobile as well. And again, I'm not gonna say something obvious like, yeah, the phone sales are like going sky high. They're not dropping. No, it's not about the phones. It's about what happens around it again. HTML5, for example, is already the standard for web development and content online. YouTube as well, like dropped Flash, moved to HTML5, everybody moved to HTML5. This is the standard. And obviously, it runs on mobile. Another interesting point, indeed, the AR, augmented reality, the content is crazy. Like, there are so many products up there. You probably saw how viral went Pokemon Go now. Like, everybody's talking about it. It's great. I mean, it's amazing. And it's AR, so mobile. And obviously, I'm a gamer. I love video games. And when I saw that Nintendo changed completely their strategies, you know, they always had their own little world with their consoles, everything closed there. They didn't really open to indie until the last moment where everybody were getting indie content. And now they said, we are going mobile as well. So stuff like this makes me think mobile is pretty important. And this is an advice. I'm not saying don't develop for desktop, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying if you make any production, any video game, anything, consider mobile. It's a smart move. Focusing on desktop could be a risky path. So, therefore, for everything that I said so far, I choose to use Unity. I love the engine, first of all, but why I choose to work in Unity? Because it's very versatile. It's user-friendly, and it allows to reach a lot of platforms out there. Then obviously you will say, yeah, obviously Unreal Engine as well reaches mobile and reaches multiple platforms. That is true, but it was born not with this intent. It moved to mobile and to other platforms because they had to. Because basically, like, you can't make games just for PC. Like, you want to be able for developers to develop games cross-platform. So this is the thing. Like, Unity was designed to be cross-platform from the very beginning, from day one. They decided to go this path. Another thing, community. To me, as a developer, the community, as an engineer, the community is massive. I have to rely on communities. When I have to pick an engine, and in all my previous jobs, I had to make calls about the tech that I had to use, I was considering which engine should I go for? Which framework should I use? One of the points that I wanted to tackle was the community. I could have had a great engine, but a poor community behind it, no, I'm not going for this one. We need to be able to talk, to share, to understand what's going on the engine and be able to solve problems all together. So that's also why I'm here. Like, it's about sharing. It's really important. And also, I love Unity for the real-time game window. So when you actually do stuff while debugging, while creating your game, you can actually see what happens in the game view. You don't have to make 1,000 builds for it. I think it's brilliant. And it's very, very useful for VR. Then, when you make something, you want to be able to make it generic. You want to be able to make something that works kind of everywhere with the minimum effort, obviously. And as we said, we have so many platforms out there. We're not just talking about, operating systems. When I say platforms, now we have to think about other different platforms, VR platforms or visualization platforms. However you want to call them, we are going to play our content on different devices. So they have their own SDKs, their own ways to handle everything. I'm sorry. So what they were saying before about input, for example, that's a good point. If I have to design a game, if I have to make a game, I have to consider that it's going to be developed for Gear VR, maybe, for desktop, for cardboard, for any kind of platform, if I want to have reach. But the point is, they don't have all the same kind of input systems. So what you do, and I learned this by experience, I guess, like keeping on making stuff, and by my background in technology, you abstract. You try to look at stuff from a higher point of view, and you translate this thing in reality. So it's a concept by object-oriented programming, and you I think some of you, at least developers, know what I'm talking about. You want to be able to understand reality by concept. So for example, the concept of a game or something that you want to create, you decide in advance what is your platform's reach, what is the target audience, what do you want to do, and so on. And then you start abstracting. You say, all right, I need a camera system, for example. Definitely, I need something to be able to see my game. And also, the input system. We need something that handles input. I don't care where, I don't care how, but it has to deal with input. And then you have to abstract all the possible visualization platforms and get the key concepts out of the visualization part. And then obviously you have the distinctions on the real platforms, so the operating systems. But if you take all these concepts and you break them out and you do something to control them all, that's going to speed up and make your product very stable. Obviously, it's an ongoing process. It's not something that you create like this now and it's going to work forever. You have to keep on maintaining it, like any piece of code anyway. So, I have some advice for VR development. As obviously I was talking about Unity, I think it's a brilliant engine. And if you use a custom layout, you can actually have, for example, the game view working with the stereoscopic rendering directly, let's say, on an Oculus Rift, which is a perfect device to debug your games. I don't care if I'm gonna build in the end for cardboard, but to debug, I'm gonna use a DK2 constantly on my head. I mean, not constantly, but when I have to debug, I just put the headset on, and Unity is running, and I can actually debug real time. So really useful. The Oculus SDK, as I was saying, is pretty useful if you use extended mode because you can have an extra monitor. And this speeds up a lot your development. Then I always think it's useful to reuse your code. I mean, who doesn't? And what I think is great is making a collection of VR tools that you can reuse for all the games that you're going to make. So I'm going to show some, not examples of code, but the game that I created in the end of the presentation uses these tools. And I use them in my work every day. So I have a system that tracks where I'm looking to detect the input, that communicates with some other system that, that I know that whatever I'm going to do later, I can reuse. And again, what is really important, guys, like VR is really young technology. It's something that, is pretty unstable and a lot of changes happen. Be ready to tackle them. So it's just as simple as it sounds. Today, this thing works, tomorrow it doesn't. Be ready to tackle these things and be patient because code is going to break very, very often, especially now. We don't have a standard for it. And everybody's going to try to push their own standards. So try to make your own. So framework or template or whatever you want to call it, like this generic way of making games or applications in virtual reality is what I strongly suggest. Try to identify those common patterns, things that your, for example, VR tools could tackle everywhere. It doesn't matter which device, it doesn't matter what platform. Point on abstraction and reusability. Like always try to think in advance what you need. And in this case, designing is very, very important. So before you start coding something and you start putting ideas down on the code, stop, start to draw, have a chat with somebody else, ask opinions, and first identify the problems and the challenges that you have to overcome before you start coding. So making code design is very useful. Then I come also from a web development, web game development background, and I learned how important are events. So be able to communicate between other scripts and without having connections between them. So broadcasting stuff and having a modular approach is what I love to do. So I abstract reality and I say, I use managers, for example. Yes. Who is going to deal with input? The input manager. Okay, whatever happens, you're going to deal with the input. And if somebody needs the input, is going to listen to some events shot by him, or if I need his assistance, I'm going to shoot an event to get back some information from it. This helps me debugging everything that happens in that particular situation. So if something breaks in the input, I already know where to go. Automation, yes, try to automate whatever you can. Like when I used web development, I used a tool called Grunt. I think some of you know about it. Raise your hands if you know about Grunt. Yeah, I think it's brilliant. Like I used Grunt for so many things. Like I didn't have to do anything basically. Like I was coming to work and all my tasks were on Grunt. I just had to press a button. And I was creating the project template for the next project that I have to do. Yeah, that as well, that as well. I just love Grunt, I don't know what. And yes, iterate on your framework every time you do something. When you create the structure, so the framework, you know, you're going to learn from the implementation of it. So you take the framework, you make something with it, and once you are finished, you probably learned so many lessons, which requires you to not start any new project, take some time to refactor your framework with what you learned, and from that moment on, move to the next project. Everything you learn is a key thing for the next project. Really important. And I'm just going to talk pretty quickly about agile methodologies. Please raise hands if you know about agile in general. Yeah? Who knows about Scrum? Oh, boy, this is pretty good. So yeah, as I said, I'm a Scrum Master. And what I strongly suggest, guys, is if you're not already using this, do it. And if you are, keep on doing it. Agile is the new standard of organizing your work, basically. We could argue about it, and I'm not saying Scrum is the way. There are so many frameworks out there that you could use. But for people that don't know what Scrum is, or Agile methodologies is basically a framework, and it's basically a lot of concepts that try to organize your work in a better way and together with your team and speeds up your production and the quality of your product. I know it sounds like magic, but it's not. Scrum, for example, is based on Scrum. It's the kind of thing that people in rugby do, and it's based on mathematics. So there is no magic. Mathematics are not magic. It's very real. Those concepts applied to your day-to-day work is gonna, trust me, is gonna increase the quality and the speed of your work by an incredible amount. And it makes also your life better for you and your team. It makes everything more calm, less stressed, more clear. I didn't attach any links here, but if you go online and search for Scrum, you're gonna just find everything you need. There is a huge community out there called the Scrum Alliance that you can just join, and there are courses, obviously, like to get certificates and stuff like that if you want. But also Scrum, for example, is something that is like, the demand of Scrum Masters is crazy. Like everybody is looking for Scrum Masters, from the biggest companies to the startups. Everybody want to use Scrum. I mean, Agile. I'm just promoting Scrum, you know. Kind of an evangelist. I'm not going to talk about Scrum too much. Key tools. I have some key tools about Scrum, development, and everything else. Most of you know about these tools already, but obviously Google. Google is the best way of organizing not just your emails, not just your researches, but also your documents. You can have your slides, your documentation files. Everything that you need is in there, and you can share it with whoever you want, and it's just fast. You want to be fast. And Trello. Trello is something to apply Agile. So if you need to organize your tasks, I strongly recommend Trello because it's free, first of all, and it's pretty cool. It's very, very neat. If you want to go like a step forward and you want to pay subscriptions for it, I suggest Jira. It's one of the most used out there. And it allows you to do more stuff, basically. But the point is, whatever you use, you could use also Post-its. They're just not very practical if you have to go abroad, for example. But keep your work tracked and organized. Trello helps you do that. And GitHub, obviously. You could use also other source management programs out there, but I think GitHub is the way to go. Personally, I find it very clear, useful, and together with Source3, which is the client that I really, really like to use, is very, very powerful. You will never, if you use it wisely, you will never have a broken project, ever. You just have to be smart and take the main part of your project, branch from it and say, okay, I'm gonna make this feature now, and then you can break whatever you want in it, and your project is still safe. Plus, you have all these things in the cloud. Doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter what happens to your machine, your code is safe and organized. I managed to get to the finals of the Oculus Mobile VR Jam that happened in March by applying these concepts, by focusing obviously on the product that I wanted to make, but using Scrum. And Scrum is made for teams, but I got the key concepts, and I used all the tools that I showed you by myself to make this game, which is called Damn Fields. And I had 30 days to make it. I never used the Gear VR before in my life, and the jam was for Gear VR, obviously. But yes, Visualise basically helped me and gave me the assistance that I needed on the tech side. So they just gave me Gear VRs and they told me, like, Joe, go and play with it. And yeah, after work I was coming home, getting my Trello board, checking what task I have to tackle, moving it to in progress, work on it, testing it, moving it to done, and then I kept on iterating until all my tasks were moved to done. And Damn Fields came out. And yeah, thousands of submissions from everywhere around the world, like companies, individuals, and so on. They picked 450 submissions, and from there, they picked 37 finalists. And I had the honor to be one of them. It was a great, great experience. I learned so much by working by myself, but applying all the concepts that I learned in my life to make this thing, and I'm very proud of it. I suggest you to download it if you have a Gear VR or a DK2, and even if you don't, just download it. It's good for the download count. It's fine. Let me show you just the trailer, and after this, if you want, I have a couple of Gear VR sets with me. You can have a play and see if you can beat my eye score. I don't think so, but you can try. All right, so this was Damn Fields. I hope you enjoyed it.
Halo teman-teman, selamat datang di VR Zone. Kali ini mulai cerita proyek namanya Damn Fields Alpha.
I'm sorry, I actually found out I just made a video of a guy playing Damn Fields and put a video on YouTube of him playing it. I think that was, anyway. I'm gonna wrap it up. I think my time is over, right? Like, okay, oh, so I was actually pretty fast. All right, nice. Okay, to wrap everything up, guys, like, it's a great time for VR. It's basically, I like to call it like the 1991 of the internet. Do you remember when we had like those web pages that were like meh, not looking so good. I'm not really sure what I can do with the internet. I mean, yes, there's a lot of potential here, but I don't really know what we can like really do with it. And look at us now. We are completely connected every second of our life with phones, laptops, wireless connections everywhere, like web changed so much, and all came from those crappy pages. We are exactly in the same moment now. This is exactly what is happening. But it's about headsets, it's about platforms, it's about stereoscopic visions, it's about so many things. Also, yes, important, share your knowledge. Come to events like this, join communities, go out, reach out people, put your stuff on GitHub and open it to the other developers out there. Sharing your knowledge is the power of making things amazing, because in the end it's us that creates these things. Also, be curious, try to follow the last tech trends. Try to check what happens, like if a big company is acquired by another companies, and and you have a hinge that something is going on, and so on. Try to predict what can happen in the future and tackle it or be part of it. Kind of cliche, but try to be inspired and creative every time of your life. Like, I mean, every moment. Just think about what you live every day. Could be a game, maybe, or an application, or something that that just happened to you. Like, be innovative. Like, just think. That's really important, in my opinion. That's how Damfield came to life. I was just playing on DS on the tube, and bam! I was like, I can do this thing. Like, I can just move around with my eyes and be in a path. That sounds great. And think out of the box. Sometimes the solutions is not that obvious. You just have to think a little about what is the best way to tackle this. Like what happened before. There was no audio, and you get the mic and put it here. It works. It's okay. And yes, consider multi-platform solutions. As I said, mobile is ruling, is taking over. Consider mobile for your productions. Pretty important as well. I would say it's all for me. I just dropped my email here, and we are always looking for developers, actually, to help make some really good VR stuff. So please reach us or come to visit us at Second Home. It's near Brick Lane. It's an incubator for startups. It's a really cool place. You can just step in and ask for an appointment and see what all the companies over there are doing, actually. It's a pretty nice place. And that's all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marco. Thanks for all your attentions. Is there any question for Marco? Yeah, Q&A. I was like, he was sitting like, oh, the pizza are coming. No. Questions are coming for you. So, yeah, any question regarding this presentation?
I read your mind.
Yes. She's got the sword.
Actually, you're right. I should.
Hi, that's just a simple one. Where did you get assets for your game from?
What you see is mostly primitives from Unity, and I just opened the. Oh yeah, can you? Yeah, cool. Mostly primitives for Unity. So just cubes, cylinders, and really easy things. An inverted sphere for the environment around it, and stuff from the asset store. Like I love the asset store. I have plugins of mine like out there. I think it's actually a good thing for developers. Just like if you have some ideas or something that you want to do, just make it and ship it on the asset store. I don't know. I get like £5 to £10 per month with my, and then I get a free pizza every month. Like, fine. It's okay. I'm not getting rich, but it's all right. But no, and yes, I had a friend that helped me polishing a couple of icons, just like 5 minutes work. And the music actually that you heard, I want to promote this friend of mine, Libero. You can search for Blueman on SoundCloud. He's a really talented music producer. and he made the soundtrack of Damn Fields and the music of the levels that you didn't hear here, but you can try it on the game. And it's a beautiful song. I love chiptune music. I don't know who loves chiptune music here. Good, good. Awesome. Any other questions? Sorry for rushing. I didn't mean to.
Hey, you mentioned that you took 30 days to develop the game, right?
Yes.
But how many hours was that in estimate, just so we can understand?
Let's say I worked until 7 p.m., go home, cook, shower, okay, let's say 4 hours per night, because I was going to bed around 1, 2 a.m. And, sometimes I just couldn't be bothered. I was like, nah, I don't feel inspired today. I don't want to do anything. I worked in the weekends. Roughly, I'm not sure, I should make a calculation here, but let's say 4 days a week, 4 hours per night, and weekends, almost full day. You make the count, man, I'm not sure, but yeah, I wasn't spending all my life on that. I was just investing some time, but I wasn't, yeah.
I realise your whole talk's about Unity, so this may seem like an odd question, but I'm wondering if you looked at 3JS and things like that to do stuff for cardboard, and do you think there's a future in it?
I dropped web development for the moment, so I'm not really building anything on web. I was ready to tackle 3JS just before I joined Visualise and went back to Unity, but I was using Pixie.js and a wrapper of it, which is actually, I think it's the most used game HTML5 game engine out there, Phaser.io. Do you know it?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, Phaser is pretty good. The only thing is that I didn't like the way they worked with the game object things. They work more on events, and then didn't really like it. So I actually started by myself a side project. It's a wrapper of Phaser, which is a wrapper of Pixie, and I basically reconstructed it to work like Unity, as game objects, components, and stuff like that. It's an ongoing thing. I actually dropped it because now I have another couple of VR games that I'm developing by myself, so I don't have time for it. But no, 3JS is a really good framework, actually, yes. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to play with it.
You talked a lot about cross-platform support, so this game, where is it supported, and where else will it be supported if you're going to develop further?
Thank you for the question. This is a good one. At the moment, you can find a game for both DK2 and Gear VR. I made a cardboard version of it, but I will have to recreate the input system because some of the functionalities of this game require 4-direction input. So obviously on Gear VR it's easy, you have the touchpad, you just swipe and it works. On desktop, obviously, you have a controller, up, down, left, right, easy. But on cardboard, that's tricky because we just have one button. So I am thinking that when you are, most of the mechanics are about gazing. So you look at stuff and then you have a loading bar, as you probably noticed. And I was thinking, if you have to pick one of the directions, after you locked in, you split the thing in 4, and then you pick again the right combination. I mean, the right thing that you want. To do this, obviously, it takes a little refactoring. So for the moment, it's just available on DK2 and Gear VR, on Oculus Share, and on We Are VR, which is a portal that I don't know if you know about. It's a pretty good one. They have a lot of really nice VR experiences there, especially games. Yep.
When you were talking about Visualise, you said you were doing sort of films, or it was based from kind of photography to start with, and then making it interactive. Is that kind of about shooting loads of 360 footage and then linking it together through like decision trees, choose your own adventure style things, depending on where you look? Or is it more about like importing 360 video into Unity and then adding models over the top of that?
It's what you described in the beginning, like the storytelling of videos is something that we didn't tackle on, but we are thinking about it. We are definitely going for it. But we are more on the shooting a really nice 360 videos. We have our own custom-made rig system, and we go on shoots. We take a 360 video and we play it in Unity. Then we add, as you said, maybe some GUI or maybe some interaction, like look here to see this video, or look there to look the other. To look for another video, or look down to exit, or if you are on cardboard, if you swipe, something happens. If you push the back button, something happens. So this is the kind of interaction, but it's not not really driven into a game branching decisions like yet. But it's interesting, yes.
Not so much narrative then, but more sort of just simple interaction. I think it's interesting because I feel like VR is very much the space which sits in between kind of film and video games, kind of, and with Metal Gear Solid 5, things like that coming out, being more popular than ever. I feel like this is really the format for that kind of experience that blends between the two. So
yeah, I'm totally with you, man. Like I am trying to book some projects to use these new mechanics, let's call it. Like when you go on a shoot, you actually do a storyboard before, and you're like, okay, what happens if you have this thing? You shoot another video saying like, yes, you pick this choice, good for you. Or if you pick another choice, something else happens. But in the video, I'm totally with you, yes.
Nice, and you would still do that through Unity by importing it all into Unity and like wrapping it around, presumably, and then Sphere, I guess. And
I have a template project, is a framework that allows me to build one single project, and I can develop on almost every platform for the moment. So I can make the project once, and I can make the same project for DK2, Gear VR, Cardboard, or desktop if you want, using your mouse, or AR. So you have the video around you, and you use your phone like this to look at around, and you can swipe to interact, maybe stuff like that.
That's cool. Is that on GitHub?
It's not, because unfortunately I can't.
Commercial, I guess. Makes sense. Thanks.
But yeah, feel free to send me some emails if you want any advice. I'm more than happy to help you. Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll have to stop here. Thank you very much, Marco.
Thanks.
A lot of applause for him, for Shanee as well. And well, it's time now for demo and grab something to eat, grab something to drink. Of course, we are always looking for speakers. Okay, so for meetup like this one, for the Intel conference we organize in December, or even for the DroidCon. Okay, so if you have like if you work in a company, or if you are really passionate about Android or gaming, just let us know, okay, through Meetup, or just come and see me, and then we can chat, exchange contacts, and get in touch. Also, we have an upcoming event on IoT, okay, so if some of you are interested in IoT, just come and see me, we can chat about it. Thank you very much, and let's see everybody upstairs. Thank you, Alice!